Hello students, you're welcome to another lesson, and today I'll be talking about presidential system of government. Okay, what is presidential system of government? Presidential system of government is defined as one in which the head of state of a country is also called the head of government. Presidential system is a system in which all executive powers are vested in one person with the title of the executive president. Are we together, class? Now, in this system, one person is the head of state, and that same person is what? The head of government, which is the president. Are we together, student? The constitution of a presidential system of government is supreme and has succeeded in depositing the offices of the head of state and government in the executive president. For example, in Nigeria, Second Republic of 1979 to 1983, President Shehu Shagari was both the head of state and head of government of Nigeria, exercising his executive powers within the system. I hope you now understand what a presidential system of government means. Now, in a presidential system, the The president is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Are we there? Now, in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that ushered in the Third Republic, also gave the same powers to President Olusegun Obasanjo. Are we together, class? Please, before I move further in our lesson, can we have our writing materials close to us? Because you need to jot down some points, okay? Now, in a presidential system, the whole country is the president's constituency and he is popularly elected by the electorate. Now, I'm going to explain two different terms, constituency and electorate. Now, what is a constituency? Now, a constituency is a specified area where voters elect a representative to a legislative or executive position. I repeat, a constituency is a specified area where voters elect a representative to a legislative or executive position. A constituency can also be defined as an area for which someone is elected as the representative in a parliament or government. Now, the next thing we're going to note is who is an electorate. Now, an electorate refers to all the people in a country. Electorate refers to all the people in a country or area who are entitled to vote in an election. I repeat, electorate refers to all the people in a country or area who are entitled to vote in an election. It is also a group of people entitled to vote in an election. They're still the same thing, okay? So you and I will make up what? The electorate in Nigeria. I believe you must have written those points down. Okay, now let's move further. In a presidential system, the principle of separation of powers among the three organs of government, which are the executive, legislature, and judiciary, is strictly adhered. Now I'm going to explain organs of government. We have a constitution that establishes the regulatory framework for political activity and the governance process in a country. One of the things it does is to establish organs of government, define their functions, and specify their powers for the discharge of these functions. When we say organs of government is the structural division of the powers of government into three different branches, such as the executive, responsible for the implementation of policies. We have the legislature, responsible for what? Lawmaking, and we also have the judiciary, responsible for interpretation of laws. These three organs work together to ensure a stable society in the state. On the other hand, when we talk about separation of powers, separation from the word separation. Now, separation of powers refers to the vesting of the executive, legislative, and judicial powers of government in separate bodies. In separate bodies like the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Do we understand? Please, students, ensure you note down these points. Ensure you note them down, okay? If we talk about presidential system of government, we have United States of America. It is a very good example of a presidential system. They are committed to the system. Okay, remember in our last lesson we talked about confederal system of government, right? And we made mention of different countries coming together to form a union. They not having a standing national armed forces and so many other things. And we also said that in confederal system, the union is what? It's a loose union. Are we listening? They don't have what we call constitution and all of that. But in a presidential system, we have a constitution that guide what? The behavior of people. And we have some structures or administrative organs in place. Okay, now let's see the functions and powers of the president as the head of state. Remember, in presidential system has to do with what? The president being the head of state and head of government. That means one person is the head of state, and that same person is also the head of government. So now we're going to see the functions of the president as the head of state. Let's see it first. Now the first function is assent. Now the head of state has the power to sign a bill into law. That is what it means. The head of state has the power to sign a bill into law. It can, however, refuse signing a bill if it has some, if it has some anomalies. Now, when we talk about anomalies is when something deviates from what is standard, normal, or expected. I take it again. Anomaly simply means that when something deviates from what is standard, normal, or expected. Do we understand? So when a bill deviates from normal or standard, what happens is that the president doesn't sign that bill. He doesn't sign it until it is corrected or normalized by the two houses, which are the House of Senate and House of Representative. The House of Senate, we know it as the upper house, and the House of Representative is known as the lower chamber. The second function of the president as the head of state is that he receives visitors. The head of state receives visitors from other parts of the world. The third function is that the head of state attends international conferences. He represents the country at international conferences such as the UNO and OAU. The fourth function of the head of state is that he performs ceremonial functions. Now, the head of state represents the country at some event like fundraising, taking salute at parade grounds, Independence Day celebration, etc., and so many other functions. Do we understand, class? Now let us see the function of the president as head of government. The function of the president as head of government. Now the first function of the president as head of government is that he controls the civil service department. Now, the head of government controls what? The civil service, agencies, and departments of government. The second function of the president as head of government is that he appoints special advisors. Now, the head of government appoints some special advisors on budgetary matters, political advisor, and advisor on information. Now, the third function of the president as head of government is that he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The fourth point is policy making. The head of government initiates the formulation of policies in the country. The fifth point is the preparation of annual budgets. The head of government prepares the annual budget while the National Assembly deliberates and approves the budget. Now, when we talk about annual budget, what does it mean? What does it mean, annual budget? When you say annual, it means yearly. So this aspect talks about the approval of yearly budget by the government. Now, when we talk about foreign policy. Now, a state foreign policy or external policy is its objectives and activities in relation to its interactions with other states, whether bilaterally or through multilateral platforms. I take it again. A state foreign policy or external policy is its objectives and activities in relation to its interactions with other states, whether bilaterally or through multilateral platforms. Now, when we talk about foreign policy objective, it is objective that guide the activities and relationship of one state in its interaction with other states. Bilateral is any activity involving, while multilateral is any activity involving more than two parties or countries. Now, the next function of the president as head of government is the maintenance of law and order. The president sees to the maintenance of law and order in the society. You know that in a state where there is no law and order, it becomes what? It becomes anarchy. There will be chaos and no orderliness in that state. And the next function is revenue allocation. Now, the president initiates what? He initiates the allocation and the sharing of revenues among the different levels. I believe you must have written something down. Thanks for listening, and we are going to have another exciting lesson in our next class. Bye.